Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of Best Albums by Year 1974. So this is a series where I'm going to take a look back at the best 50 albums over the last 50 years, of which I'm only going to be choosing an artist once during this series, so you won't see any artists repeat in here, making each selection that much harder, but I also think that much more interesting. For this episode, we're going to focus on 1974, but before we get into that, if you are new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with Best Albums by Year 1974. And so in full disclosure, I have to announce I wasn't born until 1976, so I am coming at this from a different angle than any of you that might have grown up with these albums and have a different affinity for them than I might have, but I still love the albums all the same. And I want to set the mood. I want to give you some historical context of what this year was about. In particular, President Richard Nixon resigned from office following the Watergate scandal. Gerald Ford is sworn in as the new president, and he immediately pardons Nixon. The first recorded occurrence of sextuplets in the world, and this is where all 6 babies survived, so that was pretty interesting. The world's population reaches 4 billion. In baseball, Hank Aaron breaks Babe Ruth's home run record with 715 home runs. Author Stephen King publishes his first novel, Carrie. Six Flags Great Adventures, the amusement park, opens. And Robert DeFeo Jr. murders his entire family in their home in Amityville, Long Island. And this later inspires the events of the Amityville Horror, which is later quite a successful movie franchise. All right, and so in albums, because that's what we're here to talk about, the music and everything, I've got 5 runner-up albums here. And the first one up goes to Deep Purple, Burn, 8th studio album by them. First to feature new vocalist David Coverdale, who of course would go on to Whitesnake, but also featured new bassist Glenn Hughes, coming from Trapeze, but would go on to Black Sabbath, Black Country Communion, Dead Daisies, just to name a few. He's been involved in so many great bands. And the title track of this, Burn, I mean, it's such a monster, but so is the another song that's on here, Mistreated. Just really good top to bottom, a great album that really brought the band back by force. If I hadn't already chosen a Deep Purple album previous to this, I would be going with this one for sure. All right, next up, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings, 2nd studio album. This one here features 2 of the band's biggest hits on it, Same Old Song and Dance and Train Kept A-Rollin'. And I just felt that this album here is light years ahead of their debut album. This is where I really got into them, and it's just a solid, album from start to finish. All right, the next one goes to Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, 6th studio album, and it's a double album and concept album at that. It's about a journey and self-discovery. This was the last one to feature original vocalist Peter Gabriel before he went solo and had a hugely successful solo career. And ultimately this album, while not as, successful or critically acclaimed at the time when it came out, has certainly developed a cult following and has grown in stature over the years. All right. And then the next one is Bad Company, self-titled release, debut studio album by these guys. Of course, they're a super group which featured Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke, both of the band Free, and Mick Ralphs coming from Mott the Hoople, and then Boz Burrell coming from King Crimson. So quite the lineup there, and they just put out a monster album here featuring 2 hugely successful hits, Can't Get Enough, and the title track, Bad Company, off here. It's just really, really strong, amazing blues rock music from these guys. Okay, and the 5th runner-up album goes to Kiss. It's their self-titled debut studio album release. 7 of the 10 tracks on this album here are classics among the band. And in particular, you've got Deuce, Strutter, Cold Gin, and personally my favorite, Black Diamond, on here. It's really great. And this is where it all began for Kiss. But for my favorite album of 1974, it goes to Bachman Turner Overdrive, Not Fragile. So 3rd studio album from them, of course, Canadian rock band. and became the band's most popular album in the end, topping the US charts and ultimately being certified gold. And for me, it's a feel-good album. It's got a great balance between their two frontmen, Fred Turner and Randy Bachman. Plus, there's an excellent instrumental song called Free Willin' that's right in the middle of this. You get 4 vocal tracks, then an instrumental, and 4 more vocal tracks that are in this. And it featured 2 pretty big hits for them. Roll On Down the Highway, which is a Fred Turner song, came in at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, and You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, which is a Randy Bachman tune that went all the way to number 1. And the interesting thing is that song was not even intended to be on this album. It was a leftover track, and when the record label heard this album, they didn't think they heard a hit on it. They asked for something else, and so they gave them this song, and ultimately it goes all the way to number 1 and becomes one of their biggest hits ever. So always kind of interesting how that happens. But there's other album cuts that are on this thing here that became pretty popular as well, including Not Fragile, which is another Turner song, and personally my favorite one on here. It's just really heavy opener, great tune. And Rock Is My Life, This Is My Song, which is a Bachman tune, another great one there. But for me, what I like about this album here is the alternating pace of it. It goes from heavier songs to the more radio-friendly songs, and being one of my favorite things that I like about this here is ultimately what brings this in as my favorite album of 1974. All right, and so there you go. Don't forget to check the description, and I've got other videos from the past series in here, so I will put links to 1973, 72, and 71, back where we started with this. We're 4 episodes into this series. And do share this video out on social media, help spread the word that way, and stick around because we will be back with 1975. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.